Charlie Kao with TravelMole in Singapore, at ITB Asia with Sandy Russell, who's VP of Commercial Operations Asia Pacific. And I find it most interesting that your office told me you're currently focusing on emerging guest trends and portfolio expansion and openings. That's a lot.
It certainly is. It certainly is.
What is that, number one? And if you could get into some of the things you are looking into for these areas.
Sure. One of the things that we're really proud of is the work that we've done in the area of virtual reality. And this is a tool that we're now using not just for our development team, but if you could imagine as a potential guest that might want to stay in one of my hotels, and perhaps you want to do a meeting, and you're living on one side of the world and the destination is on the other side of the world.
Right.
With the virtual reality tool that we have, they're actually goggles that we put on a customer.
I tried it the first time 3 hours ago.
Oh.
With Circus.
Okay. So you're right in the room.
First time, yeah.
And I don't know, how did that make you feel?
I was more curious of the technology than really what I was looking at. So maybe I was looking at the wrong way.
Okay.
I can see where, and they mentioned some of the hotels are doing it for like Mongolia, where people can't go. They were explaining to me. So exactly to your point.
That's a good point.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's so many uses for it, but for our development team, when they're in, as a matter of fact, they're in Hong Kong today at HiCap, and they're talking to lots of people about opening up and expanding
and they're using virtual reality.
And that's what they have in the booth right now. And so they actually could place a developer in the room of one of our Radisson Blu or Radisson RED rooms.
Okay.
And you can walk around. Now that's why I asked you how you felt, because when I did it for the first time, I have to say, I felt a little nauseous. But once you get used to sort of walking around and being able to see what the texture and the texture may be a little strong word, but what the feel of a room would be like, it's great, because we talk a lot, of course, about cost per key, and it's one thing to say it's so many square meters or so many square feet, depending on where in the world you are, but to feel it is a different aspect. And the same would be true of someone planning a meeting, or even, you can imagine, a wedding, a destination wedding.
What, to me, the potential of it is that I am so disappointed, and sometimes really big mistakes are made in selecting properties based on photos that the property might post. So this will help minimize that kind of situation.
It will. And to your point, we talk to our, interesting you brought that up, because we're always talking to our owners and operators about content and looking good online, and that's important. It's important to have good photography, but just as you said, there's a difference between a great photographer who's made something look fantastic with the right lighting and actually being in the room and walking around the room. So we're very excited about that.
It's a different reality as virtual reality. So that's one. Okay.
That's one. And another one that I would share is with our Radisson RED product. So Radisson RED, we opened one in Brussels most recently, a couple of months ago. That was our first one in the world, and we're opening up another one in Minneapolis in a few weeks. And I'm happy to tell you that today at 2 o'clock we signed one in KL, Kuala Lumpur.
Kuala Lumpur.
Yes. And that particular brand is targeted at the millennial, and we like to say millennial-minded, because, you know, I'm not a millennial. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely not one. I'm a little older than that. So we like to say millennial-minded. And of course, those individuals, I have a son that is, they're very focused on technology. So they want to be able to do everything they can with something in their hand, and they can. We now have, with Radisson RED, keyless entry. They can also be in their room, and they can order new, different pillows or extra towels, browse through the menu 24 hours a day, order from our menu, check in, check out, without ever talking to a person. Now those people actually...
That's the way millennials are wired, aren't
it's
they?
the way they're wired. And that wired is a very good good term, because that is the way they're wired. They like to have that, but they also like this social thing. So, you know, it's important, and we do. The hotels are constructed in an interesting way so that if they want it, they can go get that social feeling as well. They can collaborate. We don't call them general managers, we call them curators.
Curators.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting one. I mean, that gives me the feeling that there's art, history, culture
got it.
that they're curating.
Yeah. It's art, fashion, and music. That's Radisson RED. That's what we're all about.
Okay.
It's very, very cool.
Versus Radisson Blu, which
Versus
is,
Radisson Blu.
yes, very, very interesting.
Radisson Blu is our leading brand at the moment, and we have 45 Blues in Asia Pacific and just about 200 globally. And it truly is our leading brand, and I think it's our leading brand. You know, we like to say about that brand that it's sophisticated, it's upscale, and a word that we use to describe it is iconic. And I love to talk about Blu because of that particular aspect. The iconic bit speaks to the design of the building, and in fact in Chicago, our Radisson Blu Aqua Hotel has won an award. This is a city, as you well know, speaking about your past, that is very architecturally advanced.
Yes.
And the lady who was the architect behind that building kind of looks like an ocean. It's designed to look like waves. It's very cool. And that is the iconic element of that particular Radisson Blu. So she's won an award for the architecture. In Paris, we have one on the former site of the Louis Vuitton head office. And the elevator is constructed out of an antique or a heritage Louis Vuitton trunk. Isn't that cool? I mean,
That is cool.
It's very cool. Berlin, we have one with a huge, the entire center of the hotel, from floor to ceiling, 30 floors, is a fish tank.
Wow.
It's very neat. So iconic, and that's our leading brand.
But what do you do with your legacy? I'm using that word, brands, and those properties. Do you reinvent them, or do you leave them alone? And for those customers that expect that same feel and experience, even though maybe things have moved on with the new concepts?
Yes. Interesting you bring that up. We are at this very moment. I just came out of meetings in the US with our branding team, our head branding team, and we're talking about the heritage brand, the one that we planted the flag first in Minneapolis, Radisson. And do we call it Radisson Green? No, because the branding people will slap me if I call it that. So it's Radisson Traditional, but it's the one that...
Radisson Traditional,
Radisson
yeah.
Traditional. And it's the one that kind of gave us our start, that Kurt Carlson first planted a flag on 7th Avenue in Minneapolis. And we are talking about repositioning, and to your point, somehow incorporating those, what they like to call hometown values, and we hail from the Midwest, and finding a way to articulate that globally. So that's my job, and my team's job is to...
Oh,
yes.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
part of that, yes. Okay, wow,
So
what a
that's
big
work in
job.
progress.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, so guest trends, portfolio expansion and opening, so that all comes together of what you've described
Yeah.
thus far.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at the other brands, Park Inn, Country. I'm sorry, but I'm scared to try to pronounce.
Corvus.
Corvus.
The Corvus. And Corvus is, we call it the Corvus Collection. And we do so because it's less of a brand and more of a collection of luxury products. And we currently have 3 in the world. We do not have anything in Asia Pacific, although the development guys are chomping at the bit to get one, and I'm sure they will very soon. And we will have one in London in the Mayfair area very soon.
So now Mayfair and Corvus. Okay, I already got a picture.
Good. Okay.
Moving on, in Asia Pacific, which destinations and with which brand will you be focusing? You mentioned Radisson Blu is one.
Yeah.
Any others?
That's our leading brand, and I think that, again, that is that comprises just under 50% of the portfolio that we have here in Asia Pacific. However, Radisson RED is our new baby and our new focus, and we're very excited. And as I say, we just signed one. We just officially signed one today.
Kuala Lumpur.
Kuala Lumpur. So, you know, for us, expansion, we really believe in all of the brands, and frankly, there's a place for all of them. For example, in India. In India, we have the leading position right now in terms of international hotel brands. We have 76 hotels in India at this moment. It changes just about every day, but we do, 76. And many in the pipeline. So we're in all of those first-tier markets, you know, the Delhis and the Mumbais, and we're there already. So now we're starting to look at, you know, second-tier and third-tier markets. And that's where some of our other products, our country inns and suites, and our park inns and our park plazas, and even Radisson Traditional will start to take development and take shape. Because we do have a lot of blues there already.
Yes, I've stayed at them in India, because unless you want to go for, you know, some of the local five-star, the Taj and such, Oberoi, Radisson Blu you can count on for a certain standard of comfort, service, and food, quality food.
It's really nice to hear. We feel that way too, but it's nice to hear it.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, everybody there locally would tell you in Delhi to go to the Radisson Blu by the airport because they had the greatest restaurant, right?
With that great Thai restaurant and the kebab house, which is famous all over.
It's famous locally.
Yes, yes.
Sandy Russell, VP of Commercial Operations Asia Pacific, which of course we just heard. You have a big portfolio of responsibility. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.